I worked really hard on this video. If you guys want to support me, I stream on Twitch basically every day. And yeah. Okay. A lot of you guys were requesting a blade guide video. So here it is. Also, I will only be talking about Surge Blade, not remaining energy, because remaining energy is kind of like... First things first. What even is this class? What is the class overview? This class is melee and is back attack based. The way she works is you pop your identity, use skills to stack a certain buff, which is called Surge Enhancement. Once you have 20 stacks, which is the max, you then use your strongest skill and you rinse and repeat. Okay, now we know what the class is. We're going to dig deeper and we're going to talk about the party buff. Okay, party buff. So your party buff is on your spin cutter. This right here is your party buff. So for the people in your party, if they back attack or head attack, they get an extra 9% damage. If they do not back attack or head attack, they get an extra 3% damage. Now all you have to do is this. Now this debuff on the boss has 100% uptime, so that means your party buff has 100% uptime. You have to make sure though, you have this level 7 for quick prep, so your skill cooldown is 8 seconds rather than 12 seconds. So yeah, this is all your party buff does. Gives you extra damage to your party. Now, onto the blade build. The first build I'm going to be showing you is a total of 256 skill points. This is if you're straight level 50, you should have enough skill points. Now, I beg you to get just like 20 more skill points. Why? Because it's going to make you get 20 stacks much easier when you have this skill level 10. You're going to need this extra stack. This is going to make you dash 3 times rather than 2 times, which means you're going to get 3 stacks rather than 2 stacks. Now, if you're confused when I'm talking about stacks, I will be talking about that, don't worry. So, if you do have 284 skill points, copy this build instead. The only difference is that spin cutter is level 10. Okay, now onto the rotation. This part will be a little confusing, not really though, I'm going to explain it very well. But this part is the most important part for Blade. Before I talk about the rotation, you're probably going to have 0 gauge when entering a raid, right? The fastest way to get gauge is using Maelstrom for that extra meter gain, then Awakening, then you want to use Soul Absorber. After that, you use counter, and you have your 3 orbs. Okay, so first, I'm going to do the rotation, then I'm going to explain how I did that and why I did that. As you can see, with just one rotation, no waiting on cooldowns, I can pop my Surge. Okay, so now I'm going to be giving you guys an image of what to press to do the rotation. Why did I do my rotation like that? So, we all know with Surge, your strongest skill is this, right? So the goal is to get 20 stacks as fast as possible. So when it comes to your skills, you don't want to pull off your hardest hitting skills first. You want to pull off the skills that give you the most stacks. Your spin cutter and your wind cut gives you an insane amount of stacks. So if you ever see those on cooldown, make sure to use them. Now, here is something you need to know. The first thing I'm going to show you, and you're going to try to figure out what the difference is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do wind cut, then spin cutter. So I got 4 stacks here. Now instead, I'm going to do spin cutter, then wind cut. See right there, I got 7 stacks. So now I'm going to tell you what the difference is. So with Surge Blade, you cannot do 2 things. You can't just spam skills, and you can't stack skills. So I can't just wind cut and spin cut at the same time. I won't get maximum amount of stacks. And another thing you have to do is you have to wait 0.4 seconds when using your next skill. It will be hard at first, you might be slow at first, or you might be too fast, but as long as you practice, you will master it. So remember, like I said, you can't stack skills. That's why we do spin cutter first, then you wait 0.4 seconds, then wind cut. If you stack him, you get a total of 4 stacks. If you do it correctly, you get a total of 7 stacks. So, to do the rotation one more time, spin cutter, 0.4 seconds, wind cut. Buff here because these skills take a minute to do. Bam. Counter. Then you should have spin cutter again, and wind cut. And rinse and repeat. Now this rotation only really matters for your first one. Why? Because when you do your second rotation, there's going to be some skills that are on cooldown. So what do you do there? You want to pull off the skills that give you the most stacks first. For example, I'm going to do my first rotation, right? Like how I told you guys to do. Now, when I pop the Surge, then I pop it again, some skills are on cooldown. So, I'm going to work off of that. And and change stuff up a little bit. As you can see, I'm going for skills that give me the most stacks. And boom. Just like that. So when I first touched Surge Blade, it was in Russia, and it took me about an hour to 2 hours to practice the rotation. If you are struggling, don't worry about it. It's normal. This rotation is not easy. If you have any questions on the rotation, please ask me. I will answer. Okay, now I'm going to give you a stagger rotation. Let's say the boss is about to do a stagger mechanic. You want to pull off your most stagger skills, right? So as you can see, this skill says stagger mid. And this skill says no stagger. So this would be your ideal stagger rotation. These 4 skills that I just said, Earth Cleaver, Soul Absorber, Blitz Rush, and Void Strike, give stagger. Now if you know the mech is about to happen, I do recommend popping Maelstrom so everyone is faster and can pull off their stagger skills faster. Also, your Awakening does have stagger, mid-high stagger to be exact. Okay, next up, now for your runes. So, you want to get a Bleed Rune on Windcut because you're always using this skill, so you should have Bleed Rune at 100% uptime on the boss. Another important one is you want to get Rage on Spin Cutter, so you can get an extra attack speed, movement speed very commonly. Another one that's important is a Wealth Rune on Soul Absorber. This is going to give you an insane amount of gauge. Overwhelm on your Earth Cleaver, so you can have even higher stagger. And the rest aren't the most important, but I have minus cooldown reduction on Maelstrom and skill casting speed on everything else. Usually you want skill casting speed on Void Strike and Blitz Rush, since these two are like semi-long, but not really. And yeah, you can just copy my runes here. Okay, now for the Chaos build. All you gotta use is Vital Attack, Headhunting, and Hurricane Rush. 3 main skills besides Sword Art that you will be using for Chaos Dungeon. Blade Chaos Dungeon isn't the best, but it gets the job done. Okay, now for stats and engravings. Now here's the thing. You can get either half crit and half spec, or you can pull out full spec and get crit just like me. Personally, I'd rather do 20% extra damage with my Surge skill, rather than getting that extra 9%. For engravings. Now, I have Grudge and Surge, because there can be times where I won't back attack my Surge skill. Now, if you're in deep tier 3, you want to get Grudge, Ambush Master, and Surge. And personally, what I like to do is buy myself a level 6 gem that is tier 2 to get that extra 18%. If you're in tier 3, you can still buy this, and it'll still give you that extra 9%. This only costed me 150 gold. Okay, now for tips. These tips are going to make you play Blade much more smoothly. Okay, for the first tip, when you have your 20 stacks, and you use your identity, you can actually pop it before you think you can. Bang. As you can see, I'm already back again on my Surge. So what's the difference between what you're doing? What you're doing is this. 2, 3. You wait a whole 3 seconds for the boss to pop up when they're unnecessary. So yeah, this is something a lot of people don't know. Boom. Wait 1 second. Pop again. It just speeds things up a lot faster. Now something some people might not know is that when you use your identity skill, you have super armor. You can't get knocked up. So this boss right here, I'm going to wait for him to charge at me. Bang. As you can see, I didn't get knocked up at all because I get super armor off my identity skill, which is honestly kind of broken because your identity skill can't get cancelled. The next tip I'm going to give you is popping your Surge early. Now, what do I mean by that? When you have 17 stacks and your wind cut is giving you more stacks, you can actually pop your buff at 18 stacks and it'll hit at 20. So here's what I mean. You saw how I popped my identity while my wind cut was giving me stacks? So yeah, that's a cool little tip. Final tip that I will give you that's really important is that you will see opportunities where you can easily get a back attack with your Surge skill. So when you have 13 to 20 stacks and you see a free opportunity, use your Surge skill. Don't force yourself to get 20 stacks all the time. Especially let's say you have 18 stacks, right? And you're begging for those last 2 stacks. But you see an opportunity where you're not going to miss your Surge skill. Use your Surge skill at 18 stacks, 17 stacks, 16 stacks. Simple as this. What's better? Hitting a Surge skill that's at 16 stacks or missing a Surge skill that's at 20 stacks? Okay, now for the counter skill. The counter skill for Blade is like A+++ tier. Almost S tier. S tier being War Dancer and Striker. So your only counter skill is Earth Cleaver. So all you need is level 4 on Earth Cleaver, so you can get the Push Tripod, which charges you 4 meters forward. Some cool things you can do if you know the boss is about to counter, and if you're behind him, you can Axel and counter. Pretty self-explanatory, really good counter skill though. Okay, last but not least, which Awakening do you use? Use Flash Blink. The reason Flash Blink is better is because it's much easier to land, and because it has Destruction level 3 and mid-high stagger. The only thing this has is high stagger, and you have to charge it up. So the Bad Awakening, as you can see, you have to hold for a very long time. And The good awakening is just a dash. And yeah, that's basically it. Pretty sure I covered everything for Deathblade. If you guys can please like and comment down below, that would help me so much. But yeah, that's it. See ya.